Okay, coming back into our board now, let's go ahead and dive into this functionality a little bit deeper. First, you'll notice that the button here has direct power input from our 5-volt from our Arduino board. But as we look down this inner track, you'll notice that the only thing that has a direct power input is our switch. These LEDs do not have, regardless if it's the red or the green, do not have a direct power input from our 5-volt inner track here. However, we'll notice that the green is turned on, and when we depress the button, oops, the two red LEDs, the top and the middle, they cycle back and forth. Now this is coming from the Arduino board itself. And so what's happening here, the resistors here are just kind of here to protect our circuit. Don't worry about them too much. It's just a buffer to make certain that anything that comes out into ground doesn't overload our Arduino board. Makes the circuit look a little bit more complicated than it necessarily is. So what I want to really focus on here is really this switch and the LEDs. So the switch gets power directly, and when it's closed or the button is pressed, what's happening is the output from that switch is going into our pin 2. And once our pin 2 goes high, meaning the circuit is complete, now we hit the code that we've written, which is stored in this chip, incidentally. And what it's going to do, it's going to cycle either pin 5, 4, or 3 to high or low. Meaning, if you remember from our code, if we read a switch value of high, we immediately turn off the green, and then we start cycling the two red LEDs, LED 1 and LED 2, at quarter-second intervals, right? And that's where we switched. One was high, one was low, and then we reversed it. One was low and one was high. And you can see that here when we press the button. However, when there is no input on pin 2, i.e. it's low, the only thing that we do is we supply power to pin 3, which gives us our green LED, right? And so now we're supplying power to our green LEDs positive. And again, we're just completing the circuit with the, with the ground coming out, hitting this resistor, going to this outer track. And so even though we don't get direct access to power directly from our 5-volt interior track here, the only thing that does is our button, we can still manipulate these input or these high and low electrical values based off the code that we've written, right? And so that's why we get this. It is because the code that we wrote still has power, and that's where we're getting the 5-volt, and we still have ground. And so it's just simply saying, hey, if I get a high value on pin 2, go ahead and give pin 5 power for a quarter of a second, and then turn it off, and then give pin 4 a power value for a quarter second, and then turn it off. And that's why we get the quarter-second cycle. And if there's no value, very much like there is right now, then go ahead and just turn on pin 3, and that gives power into our green LED. And so anyways, that's the board for project 2, and that really relates to the code that we've written. So that pretty much wraps up project 2. Again, do I have power or not on pin 2? And if I do, cycle. If I don't, turn the green on. And that's pretty much, that's it. And again, boop, boop, boop. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up Project 2, and we will see you in the next video for Project 3. Take care, everybody.